Hello, long time no file chooser demo, so now here comes the next one. This time it's more about a renovation of storage use in Cockpit machines. And as a reminder, here is how the Add Disk dialog looks currently in the released versions of Cockpit. So you open it, it gets some more information from all the pools, and yeah, the longer I use Cockpit machines, the longer that takes. Maybe that's also worth looking at. And then you are presented with this. You have three choices: create new, use existing, or custom path. And now I know what this all means, but I have to admit, when I first saw this dialog a couple years ago, just trying to use Cockpit machines, I had no idea what was going on. This is all about storage pools and volumes, and that's a concept that you do not really encounter when you make your first virtual machine, or when you just create a machine and then you use it for some time. You don't have to worry about storage pools when creating virtual machines. You can if you like, but it's completely optional, and by default you don't have to worry about storage pools at all. And on top of that, maybe I quickly go back here to the actual storage pools page. I have not done much with storage pools, and still I have this number of things pop up here, and as a normal user I found this completely confusing. I didn't know where they are coming from, what they do, what they mean, and what this is about. So I was not really eager to learn storage pools, but still, if you go to this Add Disk dialog, you really are expected to understand them, because this otherwise doesn't make sense. What is create new in a pool, and then you have to type a name. What is even happening when you do that? Use existing is of course about picking a volume from an existing volume from a pool, and then finally custom paths is maybe that what you're thinking of, but the name is not very clear. This is just, you can specify a path anywhere in your file system and that will be used, but you cannot create a new image at a custom location with this. So it's at the same time confusing and a bit restricting, and I thought, let's do something about this, and let's see how the new dialog looks. I have to switch over to the new version. It takes a couple minutes here, I think, not minutes. So, and if I now reload, that should work. Reloading also takes a surprisingly long time. I remember optimizing that at one point, but now it's really slow, and it gets slower the more often you reload. Anyway, different topic. So here's the new dialog. It comes up. It tells you can either create a new disk image or you can use an existing one. I think that's a clear distinction, that this is about disk images, the choice here, and it tells you if you create a new one, you have to pick the location. It gets filled with the default value of libvirt, and you have to pick a name, and this also gets filled with the default name. And if you don't really care about these things, all you have to do is specify the size here and maybe the format. Here the layout is not perfect. I think the label should move further over here to this side. Let's see how we do that. Additional options is just the same. We didn't even look at those. So now then you can just add it, and it appears here. And if you look, you will find the file here again that you have just selected. And let's delete this again. Delete the file as well. And then the other choice is use an existing one. And now of course you have to make a choice, and this is now of course the new file chooser. This is all the stuff that I've done recently, so if you would be me, you would recognize all this. And let's say we want one in the default location, and this one looks good. If you want to use this now, and then if we select it, And now okay, I messed this up. There should be a warning coming here now, but the UI components, they cannot do this now. So just imagine there's a warning here that tells you that this is already in use by the machine foo for target VDA. So we shouldn't do this now, we shouldn't add this now. Maybe we find something else, something in the downloads directory. This Clonezilla image here, and then it automatically adds it as a CD drive, of course. And or you might have seen more options here in the list. You also get to pick from the pools. Now, if you know about pools and you really use them and you are a professional, and then you will recognize when they appear here. But if you don't know about them, you can completely ignore those. And you also see there are only 2 pools here. I found that adding all the pools that exist is not interesting. Most of them are directory pools that are created automatically by word install. Whenever you use an ISO file from some location, it makes a pool for that. And those are not interesting here. You have the default location, that's interesting place. But most other pools for directories probably are not. But these are special pools. This is a pool for partitions on a block device, and you can select the partitions here if you like. Should be sorted, I guess. And if you select this should also flip back. It's an old bug maybe. And then you add this, and then you have a block device here. And I remember I could never figure out how to actually use a block device for a disk here in using this UI. I don't know what was preventing me from doing that, but I just didn't have the concepts right to figure that out. I thought I have to make a pool, which was true, but I couldn't get that done because I didn't know what the target should be for a block device pool, and it was all a mess. But now I think it's quite easy. You just browse to the block device that you want to use. You can, for example, also go to the file system, and then you go to dev, and then you have all your block devices here. This is filtered out, and you don't see anything else but directories and block devices. So if you would go, why are these now? Yeah, they should be sorted. The collections here are not, they're pretty random now in this demo, so they should also be sorted. The directories go to the top. And yeah, here in Fedora, what is this? Yeah, that's a that is from the volume group of the operating system. You should not use this, I guess, and add it, and we might add more checks to this, but at least now you can find them. This is another volume group that I made for this demo, so you can select this and add it, and now you have this here. So there are a couple of other nice features. I don't think I want to go into too much detail now, just so that you see the basic principles here. But maybe you see that this one now proposes a -1 file because the foo file already exists. And if we would now go to the home directory, for example, and want to make it here, then it changes back to foo because now the name foo is available, and this is what Word XML and Word install would also use as a default. But if you go back to the default location, that changes again. But as soon as you start typing here or change this, then it will not change it anymore. But now you see this is a proper warning that should have also appeared in the other case here. And now it tells you this exists already, and if you go ahead it will be overwritten. That would be a very bad idea because this is the main disk of the virtual machine here. Maybe we could point it out as well, that it's not just doesn't exist, but it's also in use by virtual machine. But maybe that doesn't make a difference. You know, it's just you should never overwrite a file here in this case, and we might make it even harder. But there's a link here or a button that helps you find a unused name again in this case. Yeah, here location is of course, yeah, I've just shown it, I've used it a couple of times. I hope it's very intuitive. It's just a file chooser for directories, and if you're missing a directory here in libvirt, there's images 2 already, but maybe you want to have images 3 as well, then you can hop over to the file browser, and I hope this works now. I still haven't tried this now before the demo. Now I make here a images 3 directory, and I guess that has worked. So we go back, and now here we have the images 3 directory that we can select, and there's nothing in it now, so foo is acceptable again. Yeah, we could use different defaults. Maybe we know already what the target could be for this disk, so we could use the target string here, so for example SDA or SDB, or not. And yeah, I think there's probably lots of ideas for improvement still, but this is the basic idea of where it should go. And of course the create virtual machines dialog will also get these things, and then you can, in the same way, you can create a new disk image for your operating system, for the first disk in your operating system, and maybe even say you want to use an existing one. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot.